liability schedules are right there in front, and we've been plugging away at them for actually since 2005, 2006. The Justice Facilities Planning is a long-range project that continues. Obviously, the High Valley Area Plan, General Plan, and Housing Element are long-term projects that we plan to be bringing to a close in this next year, but it does take some time to get through that. The Mill Creek Dams, at this point I'm calling it a project. I don't know what else to call it, but it is an ongoing project. The good news with the finance system implementation is that this next year, 2008, 2009, is actually the last year. It will drop off of our priority list. So this is an example of something that had a 3-year life, started in 2006-07, this year, and then next year, and that's it. And then PEG operations funding was instituted, I believe, in 2007, and is being carried forward. Then there's a list of priorities that are being continued from 2007, 2008. Obviously, top of that list are the compensation commitments to staff that were made through negotiations. There's funding assistance for EMS and for fire districts. And you know, that's something that we're looking at whether or not we can continue at the level that we started in 2007-08, but it is something that was a priority for the board, and so we're doing what we can to keep that on the list. Water projects coordination is definitely a priority that the board set and continues. Road construction and repair projects, the microwave system implementation. There we're probably starting on our 3-year implementation as we move all the way through that system. And then economic development and infrastructure community development was a high priority for the board in the last planning process. We put resources towards staffing in that arena, and that will continue. And then I put on Mendocino Town Plan and Local Coastal Plan updates. Certainly the discussion has been brought up in 2007-08, and it will be continued into 2008, 2009 to actually begin some of the work. And then looking at 2008, 2009, what we've been working with is no new county priorities. We've certainly got enough carried over from the last couple of years, so no new or additional priorities are recommended at this time. And there are 2 reasons for this. One is the necessity of addressing ongoing priority commitments and doing them justice and getting them finished, and the necessity of reducing the debts. And then given the projection of state cuts and the flat or slow growth of local revenues, the feeling is that right now is not the time to be adding to that priority list. I think that at the end of this next year, it will need to be reassessed and look at, are there priorities that drop off? Are there ones that we consider institutionalized, or there are actual projects that are completed? And then we can look at newer priorities. Then there are the budget guidelines, and we went through an earlier version of this at the February 25th workshop, but this is more specific because it focuses on what has actually been going through our minds as we've talked to the departments and as we've met with them in the budget conferences. So the first one is reviewing the proposed budget with a 6% cut in assigned net county costs. And that was the guideline that we kind of went into the discussion with. And then, as you've heard referred, state and federal budget cuts will not be backfilled with county funds. Corresponding reductions will need to be made. In other words, we have issues just supporting the things that we already have on our county plate, much less backfilling for something that is either discretionary or the state mandated, the state needs to pay, or it's no longer mandated. Departments will absorb all increases in employee wage and benefit costs. So that was also something that we went into the budget conferences with. And our first priority was to utilize attrition where possible before considering layoffs or mandatory time off. Those are always part of the arsenal, but nobody wants to use them unless it's absolutely necessary. So moving through the rest of the budget guidelines, no funding for new projects or groups, suggest new priorities need vote of the board at the final budget hearings. So certainly as those items come up, we are identifying them, and that will be part of the list that's presented to the board at the final budget hearings. And to the extent that there's funding available after the county's core needs have been met, then certainly that's something that can be addressed. Using fees to recoup operational expenses whenever possible, that is kind of the funding philosophy that has evolved in the county for a while. Adhering to the debt reduction policy and then building the reserves to goal levels. We are making a little bit of progress in that, but not a whole lot. And then the last two, incorporating major maintenance projects and capital improvement plan into the budget process. So